So, welcome everybody to a Real Sharks review, and we're gonna go ahead and cue that new card that we made for our review. So, cue the card. All right, everybody. Thank you. And this is going to be Spaceman 2024. Netflix's Spaceman, directed by Johan Redneck, writers Jaroslav Karlafar and Colby Day. I hope I said that right. Stars Adam Sandler, Carey Mulligan, Paul Dano. The story of a astronaut half a year into his solo mission on the edge of the solar system. An astronaut concerned with the state of his life back on Earth is helped by an ancient creature he discovers in the bowels of his ship. That's right. So this is going to be a spoiler review, everybody. So we don't. So spoilers, everybody.
Yeah.
Spoilers.
Full review.
Full review.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and kick it around the table first of all, and let's ask whether we liked it or not. Personally, I liked the film. I thought it was actually pretty good. I thought it was deep. Reminiscent of films I've seen before, such as Moon. Very reflective film. It's one of those that you're supposed to get feels watching this movie. But I don't want to get too in deep here because I still want to get everyone else's opinion. So, Steve, what did you think of this film?
I thought so too. I like that comparison to Moon. It did feel like Moon a little bit. I wouldn't say deep-ish, maybe.
Deep-ish.
But the weird part about it was people comparing this to Donnie Darko for some reason. I'm like,
actually, that's a decent. Actually, that's interesting. Continue though, and I'll tell you why.
Yeah, the Donnie.
Go ahead.
Yeah, the Donnie.
I'll tell you why I think people did that.
Yeah, and I see where they're going for, but I also feel
totally
like
get that.
I don't know, man. I'm gonna give this film a little bit of a step over Donnie Darko as far as if you're going to say deep.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, like this one is more.
Well, there's a difference between like reflective, deep, and just random.
And just random for the sake of like the hey, the human mind is crazy. It's like and
the universe, the dimensions are closing together.
Yeah.
Anna, what did you think of Spaceman?
I personally, it was all right. I don't know if I would watch it again, but
interesting.
I would overall give it like a 6 out of 10, to be honest with you.
Okay.
I wasn't a huge fan. I think I like Adam Sandler funny and not so serious.
Fair. Okay.
Pretty common take.
Yeah. So let's go back to what you were saying, Steve, about why is this film kind of
dude?
The other film I want to point out that this film is very reminiscent of is Solaris in the terms of reflectiveness about the past. Very much like George Clooney's Solaris.
Mm-hmm.
The Donnie Darko. Okay, it's so funny that you say that because I was thinking about doing this review today, I actually was thinking a lot about Donnie Darko in this movie.
Right.
And the reason is, and it has nothing to do with I think the aspects of the film. I'm gonna tell you what it really had to do with. It's because the spider's voice.
This isn't the end. Come, let me show you. There's something I want to show you. Have you ever seen a portal?
Thinking the same thing when he's like doing the whole like low voice. I'm like,
yes,
there's some similarities there immediately.
Yes. So Hannah was talking about how this is serious Adam Sandler. This isn't comedy Adam Sandler, which is a fair point too. Just like people make the comparison between biography Tom Hanks and comedy Tom Hanks. I personally, for me, I loved these string of recent films that Adam Sandler has done, such as Uncut Gems, Hustle, and this one, of course. This one, though, Steve, I remember you were saying that you felt this movie was too on the nose. And, there was the aspect of the creature, which, for everyone who doesn't know, is a giant spider.
Right.
Named Hanush, which I thought was an interesting name.
Yeah.
And at first, when I first saw it, I watched it and I was like, I could never be friends with the giant spider. Like the whole time I was watching, I was like, dude, fuck that. Fuck this thing. No.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. I was like, this thing would eat me. And no.
Yeah.
And then I realized
I thought he was kind of cute, to be honest with you. The little spider. I thought he was adorable.
Okay.
Yeah. He had his little mouth.
And
and his eyes.
I thought that was a psychological thing though for the audience, and I was like, I kind
Yeah.
of think about it. If you can get over the idea of it being a giant spider and that it
Mhm.
won't eat you, you're already halfway there.
Then yeah.
Definitely.
And it's also kind of the thing too, Rob. It's like you think about it, you're in space alone on this mission that's like a suicide mission, pretty much. What is your worst fear? And can you come to grips with like, I don't know, growing an attachment to it too? Like what happens, I'm just to say he's not scared of spiders, but it's in that vein of like whatever's super scary, where did this thing come from?
Mhm.
And I mean, we'll get in depth with it, but the reason why I say it's kind of on the nose is because literally the spider in a scene, spoilers again, that it's the spider's coming out of his nose. You know what I mean? It's literally trying to
Yeah.
come out of him, and then it does, which makes it not a dream. Or though it is, I don't know how you feel about that, Rob. Of like, was that a little too on the nose? That's kind of where I mean of like.
Are you referring to the idea whether it's in his head or whether it's like actually reality?
Well, no, not that, because I feel like that is also part of the theory of like, well, is it or is it not? I think it's pretty obvious that it's in his head, but I don't know, just the spider
You think
therapy.
so?
I hate to say it, the spider
You hate
therapy.
the spider therapy?
What do you think about the spider therapy session in space?
I
Well,
liked it.
you liked it? Yeah, I was gonna say, Anna,
Yeah.
what do you think about the spiders
I
therapy sessions?
I liked you asked very thought-provoking questions, and again, spoilers, like being able to like see his memories as well, and kind of project those in Adam Sandler's mind, like the character's mind, um, was an interesting take on the whole, like reflecting on your life. Just because, like, that's not, especially like when he got the, I don't know, was it his wife or his girlfriend? Like her memories of uh the one thing that happened to her.
Yeah.
I don't want to like dive into that just yet, but like um like of that happening, like the main character wasn't even present for that, but the spider was able to pull her memories of that happening, and I think that was an interesting take because like yeah, you weren't there, but you kind of were there because she told you about it. And I thought that was um an interesting way to make him realize like, oh, I was really gone a lot throughout her like miscarriage in her like
hmm
life, and I was focused so much on being an astronaut for the country that I wasn't focused on her and her feelings and what she was going through.
Steve, why did you hate the spiders therapy?
I don't know, man. I think it was just I get the spider therapy. Let me make that clear. I understand it and I think it's good. I just think it was a little too on the nose. I think people are misconstruing the message about the spider. Number one, people caring about the spider too a little too much
Mhm.
because it's not about him, right? It's about Adam Sandler.
Poor Hanush.
And that's the Hanush. Um, and I don't know. I think the thing that annoyed me was people cared about the spider a little more than his actual wife. So when the spider, again, spoilers, passes away from like a disease of some sort of his he's like a space traveler and he's like, I picked
It
you
was an
because of your
infection.
yeah, it was an infection.
hmm
And he's like, I picked you because you were so interesting and you had so much sorrow that I saw in you, and I wanted to basically, analyze
Observe
you,
you. Yeah, he's an
observe you.
experiment.
He was an experiment, and
Which is kind of interesting too, because if you think
yeah,
about it, as a spider, he was kind of almost preying on Adam Sandler's memories too, because there was time where Adam Sandler didn't want him actually in his head at all, but
and
he
at
wanted
all
to press forward
right, and he did it anyways.
because
And
they were
like,
getting
what?
to the beginning, which was the whole part of this whole quest was getting to the beginning, which I don't want to say I knew was coming, but I did because when he was like it's the
Yeah,
beginning, and whenever you're talking about the universe,
you
especially
know it's
films,
gonna be
oh, the beginning of the end.
and
That's
the
you
end.
know what
Yeah,
that
the
means.
alpha
You know
and
what that means.
omega. It's space, and he's
Yes, it's
alone in
space.
space. So
Mhm.
come on, yeah,
And
there's a
that's the
big
other element that is very, I will give this movie a little bit of criticism on, is the element of doing therapy in space is very interesting to me because that element of being alone, first of all, and the fact that you can't escape a ship that you have to listen to these therapy sessions, I think is being done a lot more now these days movies, where the character, like take Moon for example, he had to listen to his old self. It's not like he could escape that because they were locked in the facility together. So I enjoyed it. I just thought I wish there was a little bit more lore to Hanush, but in a way though that kind of does leave the element of whether it is real and in Adam Sandler's head.
Right. And then it also, again, if you want more lore with Hanush, then the wife kind of suffers. You know what I mean? Like there was more about him, and then you get snippets about the wife and how she felt. And then you kind of get out of touch with that because then it goes back to Adam Sandler about how he feels about his emotions. And I'm like, he's a parable. There should be that connection. So in the end, again, spoilers, is when Adam Sandler has that reconcile with his ex-wife, you should kind of feel a little more sympathy with both of their relationship status than you do when the spider passes away. You know what I mean?
That's funny you say that, because I didn't really I cared about Adam Sandler's character, but I didn't think he was an asshole either in the whole movie. I just, it was kind of, he didn't do enough, I guess, the miscarriage stuff was bad, but I don't know. I just didn't see him as like a totally horrible character, I guess. And I want to ask you, do you think this film speaks more to a male perspective or a female perspective?
Male for sure. Just because they do touch lightly on some like female stuff that happens regularly, like every day. But it was definitely more men's mental health film and how men deal with um solidarity, and like because that's what this whole film is a man alone in space
Who
for
wanted to be alone.
yeah forever basically. And
Yeah.
like that could have been like a 10-person mission, but it was a solo mission, and then what was it, like South Korea came and saved him and they had multiple people on the ship, so
Mhm.
he didn't need to be alone. He could have had a crew with him, and he didn't need to be alone. So I feel like it definitely speaks to a male audience more than a female audience, but it is
I
interesting.
agree. I definitely agree, because I thought the same thing as I was watching it too. I was like, this definitely speaks to more of a male perspective, because I think because men are usually driven with, not to say women aren't, but especially ambition like that. You basically have tunnel vision to what you want to do, and then you put family aside. It happens all the time.
Yeah. I mean, he went to a
Yeah.
suicide mission pretty much,
Pretty
rather
much.
than like confront his emotions.
Yeah.
So I thought it was a really good movie. I mean, it definitely speaks, I think, to the heart of a lot of issues that especially men go through. But females can definitely also relate to this too, because you can
Definitely.
definitely show this to a guy and be like, "You see, you
Yeah.
see,
Yeah.
you see what
Right.
Hanush taught him."
Yeah. Right. They bring up a
Get in
spider.
touch with your inner spider.
I know,
Get in
right?
touch with the inner spider. And that's funny that you say that, because that also kind of is representative of Hanush, is the monster that we all have, like, inside of him at that point. What was it? It was sitting there, it was crawling in him. And it's funny too, because the spider also likes the same things he does as well.
Right.
Nutella and coffee.
Mhm.
So that's why it's interesting too, because the spider is also kind of reflective of him. I thought, okay, so I want to get to where you talked about the spider dying, Steve, because I have to say I disagree with you. I thought that part was so sad. I thought it was very sad.
I'm not gonna lie, I teared up a little bit.
Like when the things start eating him, I was like,
Oh man! Oh god! Oh man!
It does suck, but then he also was like, "Listen, it's not about me, dude. Like we're out here so you can understand your personal," which I'm gonna bring and reflect your words, what you told me when we had this off-air discussion about it, about when he goes into the pink void. I forget what it's called. They call it something in the movie. He's all like, "Look around," and Rob brought up a great point, which was his own universe.
his memories
It's
were
like
his universe.
his
Yeah.
memories, his universe, this purple void is Adam Sandler's whole world in a nutshell. When you see all of the stuff that happened, because each flashback in his dreams had a very distorted and fish-eyed lens, like everything was distorted except a face. His dad being like this, guy that we don't really know anything about, but
Yeah.
he's some horrible man, but he kind of respected him in a way. So he kind of felt like I had to, right his wrongs and, live up to this expectation. And when the spider dies and he's like, yeah, I'm the last of my kind, I'm dead, kind of thing. It was the last of, like, obviously his grip on his memories, his like
Mhm.
bad memories. Like, you got to let this go to progress in life. And as soon as he does, he gets, rescued by the South Koreans. I felt like that was one of the more intriguing parts of the whole film.
Would you have liked it more if he would have died?
Then
Adam
you
Sandler?
don't
Yes.
get any like reasoning.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He doesn't. There's no like reason.
Wait, Anna,
like,
would you have liked it more if he would have died in the end?
Yeah, definitely.
I'm siding with her. I actually would have liked it more if he died in the end, because that whole part of it too, Steve. I remember when we were talking about the whole him going to the beginning, and then I was like, that was basically like his universe. It would make sense, because like we were talking about how, in space films especially, there's a lot of reflective nature about death usually, and like what happens after we die in the universe and everything like that. And I just kind of thought that that's where the movie was kind of going for a while.
yeah.
And when he ends up on that Korean ship, it almost seemed like a Battlefield for Los Angeles type thing. Like, now we know how to beat the aliens. And it was like, wait a second.
That was weird.
We were doom and gloom the whole ride here, and all of a sudden it's like,
Bam! What the fuck just happened?
now we're okay.
Yeah. I get what you mean.
So that part kind of like, that was one of my criticisms of it, as I was like, I would have been okay if he died. I would have still took away the same feeling of that movie, because in a sense too, wouldn't you think it's too late?
I know that's
we
the
only
thing.
get one life to live. There's no reset, and like that's what Hanush was kind of telling him. You can't go back on a lot of this stuff,
Right. And I don't think I feel like it goes two ways. You can die and not die knowing that he's reconciled with himself and kind of forgive himself and hope that she forgives him. But it also works too, him going back and explaining to her, like, there is no happy ending here. Like, they're not going to get back together. Like, he's just going like, I fucked up, and this is what's going on. Like, we had that first kiss. We'll always have that kind of kiss. And she was like, yeah, but I mean,
the other movie this
with my
reminded me of a lot of, and I'm sorry I didn't mention this. I should have mentioned this at the beginning. This movie has more of a reflexive tone of Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind than it does anything.
Yeah,
it really does.
The overtones are strong.
It's very strong on
Yeah.
keeping because we all in relationships have good memories, bad memories, and like in Eternal Sunshine, he's trying to erase all those bad memories to realizing that he has a lot more of the good ones that he wants to keep, and then then you reflect and realize that, oh, my life with this person wasn't really that bad.
Mm-hmm. Or like
I should change. And I was missing something. I should have changed then the outcome of what it is now. So I would actually go around, and we got Anna's score. So I'm gonna actually say I'm gonna give this movie. You gave it a 6, right, Anna?
Yeah.
I'm actually gonna go kind of surprising on you guys here. I actually give this movie like a 7.5.
That's pretty decent.
Yeah, I give it a 7.5. I think it's definitely worth seeing.
Definitely.
I mean, it's worth seeing at least once. At least seeing one time.
One time, yeah.
Well, no, Anna's right, because it is a film like I don't think I'll ever watch it again, because it was very. There's certain films like that make you reflect, like that can do damage to you itself.
Oh,
you
yeah,
watch too much.
dude. Yeah.
This is kind of one of those that make you do the what if a lot in your life if you pay attention to it a little too much.
And a little too much. I get what you mean.
See what I'm saying? Like,
people, that's the thing.
Bad on your psyche. It's like watching The Road too many times.
Now that will screw you up. I feel like if you watch The Road more than once, you will, especially on a male's perspective, you're going to start questioning a lot of decisions in your life, and you're going to go down a really bad path. But I feel like that kind of is in this vein too, where people are going to watch it too many times and they're going to be like, yeah, well, what about...
They're going to look for so much meaning behind it. And there is a lot of meaning, but it's very simplistic, though.
But it's simplistic, and it's a film. At the end of the day, it was entertainment first. Yeah, it's very surface level, and it's supposed to make you think what you did, so it's mission accomplished in that sense. Plus,
I loved it though for Adam Sandler. I thought he did a great
yeah,
job.
I'm gonna give it a 6.5. I'll give it a
6.5.
Yeah,
Okay.
definitely. I think it's good. It's good enough to
We're
watch.
at about a 7 here.
Yeah.
Overall. Okay.
7. That's a good score.
So that is Spaceman with Adam Sandler 2024 on the Real Sharks podcast. Thank you, everybody.